one's for the birds, this one's for the city. This one for the fans that bleed green with me. Push down to 95, to the right is the link. With a team pulling up, knowing that they getting beat. Exit Broad Street, right on Pederson. Xfinity Live, CPP, what's happening? Dub F Lie, stop by F1. Fly, Eagles fly, you hear the song getting sung? What team in the league is number one? Bird gang, yeah, I said it twice. You heard me say it once, now you sure you heard it right. No lies being told, yeah, it's all facts. It ain't me, Green or Kelly, we don't rock with that. Any given Sunday, we don't ever slack. Yeah, we got an SB, time to run it back. And even on the road, yeah, we taking over. All you see is green like you at the Nova. Care less about your squad, bro, it's only us. A cheesesteak tailgate, yeah, we good, bruh. Beer pong baptism, you already know. Con shot, tomato pie, bring 3 or 4. After every bird gang, you know where to be. 4th of John, NBC, in the heart of Philly. About the birds, all about the birds. E-Rock, Gale, Sonic, Hollywood, Heard, look up.
Here we go. Broadcasting live from NBC Sports Philadelphia studios in the heart of the Wells Fargo Center. Welcome to 4th and JAWN, episode 113. Well, boys and girls, that was a interesting, albeit disappointing Thanksgiving 4-day weekend, wasn't it? Started with the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, losing to the Buffalo Bills, a Buffalo Bills team who, by the way, we beat in their own stadium. Dak Prescott looks like hot garbage. The Cowboys still can't beat a team with a winning record. There's all this hooting and hollering and arguing and yelling and screaming that can be heard outside of the Cowboys locker room, and I don't care how good my mother's Thanksgiving cooking is. There is nothing more tasty, more succulent, more satisfying and sweet than Jerry Jones's old man tears. And then all of a sudden, Eagles fans, including myself, start thinking to myself, oh, holy crap. Wait a second. Wait just a damn second here. They might be able to pull this off. They might be able to do it. They might be able to make the playoffs if the Eagles just handle their business and sprinkle in some Dallas Cowboys disappointment. Season it, as you like to put it, Gail, since we're talking about food. Season it with some Dallas Cowboys disappointment. The Eagles and the Cowboys are going to be slap fighting their way up Garbage Mountain to see who sits on top of the Dookie throne that is the NFC East Championship. It could happen. It could happen. And all of a sudden, Eagles fans, for 2 days, they got their hopes high. They're feeling pretty good about ourselves. High hopes for a living. Shooting at Dallas Stars because we can't make a killing. See what I did there, Gail? You like that, right?
Is that country?
No, that's not country. Don't worry about it. Forget about it, Gail. But we're sitting there, we're thinking that they can do this thing. And then Sunday comes up. And my biggest fear about this last 5-game stretch comes to fruition. The Bobo game happens. The annual Doug Pederson Bobo game where he loses a game that he has a lead on to an inferior opponent who has no business winning that game, fumbles and bumbles his way into the locker room with the lead. The whole team comes out with amnesia and forgets how to football. Like, listen, I always thought that the Bobo game was going to happen against the New York Giants because they're division rivals, right? You play them twice. The division rivals, you know them, they know you, and they're going to play you tough. You would like to think that your division rivals are going to play you tough. But nah, it happened against the 2-win Miami Dolphins. A team that for the majority of this season, we all in the NFL world believe were tanking on purpose to climb to the top of the draft board, trading away some of their best players to gain draft assets, almost pulling the 76ers and trying to trust their own process. Ryan Fitzpatrick is Fitzmagic once again. I don't know why this guy has our number. I can't explain it, but he takes 10 steps back, takes a full running head start, and Chuck Norris front kicks us right in the Fletcher. And here we are. Shell-shocked. Just shell-shocked. I still can't believe it. I've woken up for the last 2 days thinking to myself, the first thought in my head after I wake up, nah, they didn't really. I mean, that's the Dolphins. Come on, it's the Dolphins.
That happened.
Yeah, no, that really did happen. And here we are, shell-shocked. Because the 2 previous games before that, you played superior opponents who played down to your level. And the defense held you in that game. And the offense was crap in the bed. Then you go down to Miami when you still have a shot at this thing. You come out unmotivated, undisciplined, you take it easy on them, and you lose to an inferior opponent who either plays up to your level or you play down to their level, maybe a combination of both. Boys and girls, I don't know how this show is going to go. I don't know if we're going to run long like we did last episode. I don't know if we're going to run short, because I, like a lot of Eagles Nation out there on the timeline, out there watching live on Facebook right now, out there watching on YouTube, there's a lot to say. There's a lot to complain about. There's a lot to bitch and moan and piss and whine about. There's a lot of questions to ask, like why? Why? All the questions, but most of them, why? Why? I don't know how this show is going to go, but we're going to try to power through this thing as best we can on a week where we're supposed to be giving thanks. I don't know of anything that I'm thankful for. Mr. Gail Saunders, Eagle Sessions on Twitter. How was your turkey day, buddy?
It was pretty good, actually. Better than these L's we've been catching on the weekend. But we've officially hit rock bottom, and I say that with a question mark because each week it gets worse and worse. When we won the Super Bowl and Doug Pederson was at his highs and he was talking about the new norms that were gonna happen in this locker room. The new norm has now transformed to the new lows in Philadelphia. The new lows is trailing in the fourth quarter and not being able to come back and win. We're 0-7 when we're trailing in the fourth quarter. The new lows is trying to talk about the Miami Dolphins, saying that they're a good team when we know they're tanking, dropping players left and right, and telling you're lying to us saying that's a good football team. They've been visibly tanking the whole season, and you're losing to teams like that. The new lows are going away from your strengths. The new lows are having Pro Bowlers all across this line and not running the football. You're a pass-happy team for no reason. You can't get out of your own way. And at the end of the day, Doug Pederson talks about, I got to look in the mirror. But to quote, Michael Jackson with a twist here, I'm starting with the coach in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make Philadelphia a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change, Doug Pederson.
Come on.
We are soaked in misery at this moment. How are you guys feeling?
Not great. Not great. Evan Hollywood Hearn, how was your Thanksgiving there?
My bird was a lot better than those birds. To touch on Gail's new low, how sad is it when going into the game, the 2-9 Dolphins, they come into the game, they're tanking all season long, and then after the punter throws a touchdown to the kicker, we've got Christian Wilkins laughing in our face, and then we've got in our players' face, and we've got no anger that spawns from it. Where's the get down and get angry, the gritty attitude? I just don't get it. There was a sacrifice that was made today. My prediction of Matt Collins one day becoming a breakout player has officially died. It's never gonna happen. I don't know. The fact that I feel like he's almost the scapegoat for that weekend. Matt Collins needed to go. We've been saying that all season long. But, that better not be it. And I look at just top to bottom. I look at this entire Eagles organization, and it's not a team that I recognize. It's not a team that I like. We've got a coaching staff that makes no adjustments. We've got a scouting department that, Zach Berman put out a tweet about
buckle up, boys and girls.
Yeah, buckle up for this one. This is every single wide receiver that the Eagles have drafted in the 2010 decade, starting in 2010 with Riley Cooper. We all know how that one turned out. 2012, 6th round, we got Marvin McNutt. Had potential for crazy jersey sales. I think that's why they did it. 2014, we had in the 2nd round Jordan Matthews. He is the girl that we call up whenever, you know, we
Eagles' favorite booty call.
Exactly. Whenever things aren't going our way for a little bit, we'll give him a little ring, and then he shows up, and if you want to even call it serviceable, I guess. Josh Huff, a Chip Kelly Oregon product.
Hollow points.
Nelson Aguilar, our first-round wide receiver in 2015. And, I mean, aside from the Super Bowl year, really hasn't produced anything. Shelton Gibson, no longer here. Got Matt Collins, now no longer here. And in 2019, in the second round, we picked JAWN. That's
who caught a touchdown?
Who caught?
Shout out to
JAWN.
You did it, buddy. That's worth the golf clap.
But as far as there is not a single solitary B to above wide receiver that was on that list. We need a new scouting department. We got a medical staff with Jordan Howard, who has for 3 weeks now been nursing a stinger. That's the worst thing I've ever heard of. The late Matt Collins was out with a hamstring injury all of last year. We got Carson Wentz last year with a back injury that they didn't want to tell him about to his spine. I'm just saying, from department to department, there is not a single thing that is working with this organization.
If I can be thankful for something during a week where we're only a couple days from giving thanks for everything, right? It's that at least the Eagles, going through what they're going through, they have zero excuse next year to retry the retread formula that they've been trying to do for the last 2 years post-Super Bowl. They can at least look at themselves and realize it's a shell of the former team that caught that magic, that lightning in a bottle that was that Super Bowl run. And they realize now that from top to bottom, organizationally, they need to change things. They need to switch things up. Because whether it's the medical department, like you just said, whether it's the scouting department, the drafting department, whether it's Howie Roseman's in-game moves or in-season moves or off-season moves, whether it's who they're drafting, whether it's the coaching or the lack thereof in many departments, that the Eagles need a complete front office overhaul. There are still a lot of great pieces in this organization. There are still a lot of foundational pieces that you can build upon. But you can't build upon sand. You can have cornerstones. You can have fundamental building blocks to your organization and your team, whether it be coaches or players or front office management. But if it's built on sand, it's bound to crumble. And that's what I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles season this year has been. Just a sandcastle waiting for the tide to come in. And the tide can come in any form. They can come in as better teams. They can come in as worse teams. They're going to come in and they're going to knock them right over. The leadership on this team isn't there, whether it's from the coaches or the leaders that we've known to grow and respect. When you have a 14-point lead against a team that has no business really being on the field as you, when you've taken over that stadium with 30-plus Eagles fans to the point where it feels like a home game, and you still can't find the motivation to go ahead, leaders like Malcolm Jenkins, Spence, pull up Rodney McLeod, leaders like, Fletcher Cox, leaders like Rodney McLeod, let's see what he had to say post-game.
Second half, we came out, was up 2 touchdowns, and kind of, I guess, just let our guard slip down a little bit. And they made a lot of plays, battle tough. You got to tip your hat to them.
Let your guard down a little bit. As a leader takes many forms on the team. Some of them are vocal, some lead by example. Some of them lead in the locker room, some of them lead in the media, some of them are rah-rah guys on the sidelines. Leaders learn from their mistakes. And how this game against the Miami Dolphins has all the similar flavor of them losing to the Tennessee Titans last year, a team that they were better than, had the lead going into the fourth quarter, took their foot off the gas, and blew it. This game has all the flavor of the Carolina Panthers game last year when once again you had the lead, took your foot off the gas, and blew it. And those all happened earlier in the season. Those were correctable mistakes. It wasn't too late. If it wasn't for the Dallas Cowboys' ineptitude right now, Gail, this team, if this was any other division in the NFL, you and I would be, hey, Gail, how those wide receiver draft prospects look right now? Because the leaders on this team can't grab their teammates by the jersey and say, yo, bro, you were here last year. You remember what happened against the Titans. You remember what happened against the Carolina Panthers. We're not about to let this thing happen again. Let's go get them.
Yeah, Malcolm Jenkins was actually even talking about not having, that players meeting. It's over with. He actually said, you don't want to be Captain Obvious. We didn't effing play well. We know that. There's no need to beat a dead horse. Figure out what it is. Watch the tape like you would any other day and go back to work. And then Doug Pederson, they talked about this will be a great for our leadership right now, where we are challenging the leaders of the team to really embrace this time. We're not throwing in the towel. We control our own destiny. It's a lot of coach speak, and it's a lot of stuff we've heard over the weeks. Coming from this game, I was thinking to myself, maybe we're gonna get some solid answers. It's a get right game.
Yeah.
You start feeling better about your Eagles.
Yeah.
But I left that game with more questions than ever. It's like a boat. Now we have like holes in different areas of the boat. We're sinking, and you're looking at this like, I'm gonna plug this hole up. I mean, how long do we got over here? Well, that hole might burst. You might have to let guys go, coaches go, and you're not even thinking about the playoffs. So when you have an opportunity to actually go to the playoffs, and you don't even, that's beyond me. I'm like thinking like, what is going on with this football team? I mean, you lose to the Dolphins.
I know we keep saying it over and over again because we just can't
believe it.
Can't believe it. And Doug Pederson is very guilty of going up there and spitting a lot of coach speak. Doug Pederson is guilty of sometimes putting his foot in his mouth. And what he said on the WIP morning show, NBC Sports Philadelphia has the exact quote, was the Dolphins simply wanted it more. What? The Dolphins wanted it more? What were they playing for? I mean, you could clearly see the Dolphins players, the offensive line, the wide receivers, the coaches were playing for Fitzpatrick, who was pumped up and riled up and ready to go. You could clearly see the Dolphins were going for broke. You could clearly see the Dolphins were playing with house money. You could clearly see the Dolphins just didn't give any more Fs. They didn't care. What do we care? We're going for it, baby. We are going for it. The Eagles had everything to lose, and they lost. Mm-hmm. And Doug Pederson, on his press conference, had this to say to kind of a little bit of backtrack during his postgame or during his Monday press conference.
You said on WIP that you thought that the Dolphins wanted it more. In that kind of situation, how do you handle that? How do you deal with it? How do you address them? How do you avoid that happening again?
Yeah, I think I don't want to be misunderstood when I make that statement.
Okay.
What I mean by they want it more. There were certain plays in that game where obviously they made the play we didn't. So in that case, yeah, they wanted that play a little bit more than we did. As a whole, as a game, I've the effort, the energy level, all that was there, in the game.
Where?
Playing tough, guys played hurt in the game and went back in the game. So it's none of that. It's the fact that there were plays to be made in that game. We didn't make them. They wanted that aspect of the game just a touch more. They made those plays and ultimately came out on top.
Man.
Dougie.
No ice cream for you.
Bubba.
Rocky Road ice cream, brother.
Boo-boo. Listen, man, you were right the first time. The Dolphins simply wanted it more. Which from a leadership, and you're at the top standpoint, from your positional coaches, from the leadership council that you speak so highly of, they didn't want it as much as the 2-win Miami Dolphins. And I'd have more listen, I got all the respect for Doug Pederson in the world. I know he's in a tough spot right now, trying to stumble and bumble. And gee, gosh, golly, the Dolphins, they're a good he's trying to protect his guys, whatever he's trying to do up there. But I honestly would have more respect for you in that press conference if you go, oh, yeah, I stand by this statement. Dolphins wanted it more. We had the lead. We blew the lead. They wanted it more. This is something that we have. I'm challenging. I've challenged the locker room. I've challenged these players. I've challenged the coaches. And most importantly, I've looked in the mirror and challenged myself. I'm not happy about that loss. That stings. I'm disappointed in every aspect of this football club and every aspect of this team. I'm disappointed in myself. And we are going to collectively turn this thing around right here, right now, or we die together. What was that famous line from Any Given Sunday? We either heal as a team right here, or we die as individuals.
Yeah.
I'd almost have more respect if he came out and just spoke the truth like that. Because honestly, you spoke the truth the first time.
Yeah, I just want, as a head coach, I want you to throw people under the bus, hold people accountable. Like, if you gotta send a message, send it loud and clear. I mean, releasing Mac Hollins.
That ain't it.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. I mean, and I'm talking about holding your positional coaches accountable. I mean, just talking about that Dolphins team and their want to and their will to win. Throwing everything in the kitchen sink at us to win. Throwing in some wildcat, throwing in some crazy play in which, Doug, you should have called a timeout because you had extra timeout, three of them.
Yeah.
It's.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen that from this team like that. The light bulb goes off in Carson Wentz's head, and he's got the rhythm. He's firing on full cylinders. You haven't seen this from this team. They seem confused. And you look at the end of the game where we're talking about the Dolphins, one of the lowest ranked offenses in the league. I mean, 6 plays, 84 yards, 2 minutes 40 seconds, touchdown. 13 plays, 75 yards. 6 minutes 29 seconds, touchdown. 6 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. I'll keep going. Touchdown, field goal. 6 drives. You could not stop
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I mean, he's 4-0 against Jim Schwartz.
It doesn't make sense.
I mean, look, and Jim Schwartz did not call a great game by any stretch of the imagination. Jalen Mills looks like the green-headed baby of Bradley Fletcher and Nnamdi Asomugha out there.
Yeah, retweet for Pro Bowl.
Yeah. But the whole team failed. Like, the whole team struggled. Like Zach Ertz caught the aguilitis. I don't know if he didn't wash his hands in the locker room, but he came down with.
He stumbled on that touch. That could have scored a touchdown on that play.
Yep.
And then in the end zone at the end of the game. I mean, he's a reliable pass catcher.
It is. Like I said, we are
contagious,
It's contagious, bro.
But it starts at the top.
But
it starts at the top.
100% starts at the top.
When you've got a 28-14 lead, and you from that point, when you've got Miles Sanders running at 5 yards a clip, you run 3 more times. When you've got a 2-touchdown lead on one of the worst run defenses in the league, that it just trickles down. It trickles down to the rest of the locker room.
And that's what I can't understand. And I will die on this run the ball hill. I am willing to defend it. I am willing to die on it if need be. Once the Eagles got up 14 points in the third quarter, they ran the ball 4 more times?
3 more times.
3 more times.
The rest of the game.
It's ridiculous.
That is 100% unacceptable. 100% unacceptable. And I know situationally, like there was an article by BGN out there, right? Talking about the situational running of, that the ratio wasn't the problem in the second half. And John, I'll agree with a lot of what John said. It's well thought out. It's well written. It's got the drive charts and everything. But what I will say is situationally, you can look at it and be like, well, they passed Pat. Would you run it here? No, you wouldn't run it there. The timing's not right. Would you run it here? No, the timing's not right. Would you run it here? And he is 100% right about all of it. My not even argument, my point would be that 14 points up in the third quarter on the road against a 2-win team in a stadium.
With our wide receiving core.
With wide receivers that are struggling, knowing full well that your defensive secondary has been struggling the entire time. And the last thing you want is Fitzpatrick to do what he did to you last year in Tampa Bay with Miles Sanders, who has been averaging 4.57 yards per carry over the last 3 games, and specifically 4.9 yards per game versus the Dolphins. How you stick to that few run plays is just beyond me. None of that. I don't care what kind of football mathematics you're doing. That just don't make damn sense. Doesn't make sense. Now, the pass-happy offense that he was having, John was absolutely right. Would you run it in this situation? Nope. Would you run it in that situation? Nope. And I encourage you to go read that article because he makes a lot of sense. My point is, why would you even put yourself in a position to begin with? Why wouldn't you want to? There is something demoralizing about a team having a 2-touchdown lead in your stadium and you run the same type of 7-minute offense, running it down their throat, letting the big dogs up front push the pile, moving earth, pounding them body blow body. Remember what the Vikings did to the Cowboys with Dalvin Cook? There's something to be said about that when the Cowboys take the lead and they jam it down their throat to take the lead right back. There's something demoralizing about that. You cannot justify to me Wentz passing for 46 times. Now, he had a good stat line, 28 of 46, 310 yards, 3 touchdowns. Honestly, should have been 5 touchdowns. And the intermediate passing game was working. They were getting chunk plays on first down. They were getting 10 yards here. They were getting 11 yards here. But did it sustain success? Did it sustain the drives? Did it sustain the lead? No, it did not. Because when you're slinging the ball with a lead, you're leaving yourself open for holding penalties, for sacks, for offensive pass interference, for dropping the ball in the end zone. You're leaving yourself for getting behind the chains and making your life more difficult for you as an offense.
I mean, look, just you can name the names across the line on our offensive line. These guys are like Pro Bowlers. You're telling me you can't run the football consistently, and you know they want to run. They want to ground a pound. They want to run the ball, and to just not even give those guys an opportunity to like take that game over. Rube had a nice little stat here about last time the Eagles blew a 14-point second-half lead to a team with a losing record was December 24th, 1994. They led the Bengals 27-10 early in the third quarter and lost 33-30 in overtime. Rich Kotite was fired the next day. We're not going to fire Doug Pederson, but obviously, Doug Pederson, you got to get your mind right. I mean, it's just a matter of it's just really asinine for you to put your team in this situation, play to your strengths.
And that is putting the team to the situation. Like, take all the situational stuff aside where you can pinpoint times where it's not appropriate to run. Don't go pass heavy. You won't have to worry about that. Like, I can't stress that enough. Please read that article. John makes a lot of great points. Do me a favor, Trox. Look up Ron Jaworski's Twitter. He has a great point on it's not only the run ratio, but when they're running and on what down the Philadelphia Eagles are running. That's an issue as well. But the fact of the matter is, we can go back and look at the history of Carson Wentz and Doug Pederson and look exactly what their record is when Carson Wentz is throwing over 40 times, and it's not good. The proof is in the pudding there. It's not good. We can look at when they run the ball over 30 times, and it's a winning record.
How many episodes have we talked about that? Like, was it 4 episodes in a row? Like 4 episodes in a row we talked about running the ball.
Mm-hmm. And I hate to sound repetitive, and I hate to sound like oversimplifying, but what part of run the ball against a 2-win team, against one of the worst run defenses in the league, when you have a 14-point lead, get on the plane and go home? Well, I know you can't go home because it's snowing. I know a lot of Eagles fans got stuck down there, but I can figure out, if I'm making Brandon Brooks money, I can figure out some way to go spend it on South Beach. Just win the game. That's how you win. That's the winning formula. That's how you do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird, like, getting, seeing other teams lose. We've seen other teams lose over the years. We clown them. Like, we've become the laughing stock.
We're the clowns.
The last couple, it's like, really? I mean, you can't even hold. You're trying to hold your head up high, I'm still rocking my Eagles stuff, but it's hard. I'm still gonna do it, but
especially when a punter and kicker score against you.
Yeah, and the trick plays like Doug.
true.
Timeout.
And you as a couple of memesmen, how bad did that hurt when the Dolphins put out a pretty fire meme?
Clowning you.
Clowning you.
Clowning you.
How bad did that hurt?
The Dolphins are clowning you right now with a Star Wars meme.
The 3-9 Dolphins.
Hey, listen, I thought it was
I've been
funny.
off social media. I can't take. I'm highly upset.
To go back to the
I'm highly upset, bro.
To go back to the
I can't
point
take it.
of when the last time that we were up in the second half by 14 points and then we blew it to a team with a losing record. That was 1994 when we fired Rich Cote. You put out a point earlier on Twitter, not today, earlier in the week, just that like it's unlike the Eagles for them to make a mid-season coach firing.
Yes.
That when is a better time than right now? I get that it's unlike the Eagles, but a message needs to be sent to the locker room. We are in a complete spiral right now. If not now, when?
Because honestly, I don't know. First of all, Chris Mortensen, John Barchard put out a clip of Chris Mortensen saying that barring, if the Eagles do not make a playoff run, then there will be. He hasn't spoke. He called Jeffrey Lurie. Hasn't spoken to him directly. Texted him. Hadn't heard back. But if the Eagles do not make a playoff run or get into the playoffs, that there will be significant coaching changes. And while I love Chris Mortensen and I 100% agree with it, isn't it kind of a duh and or hello scenario?
Yeah.
Like of course they are. And the tweet that I put out earlier was listen, the Eagles haven't fired an assistant head coach mid-season or during the season, at least to the best of my knowledge. I haven't gone back and researched it or fact-checked it. But if my memory serves me correctly, it's when Juan Castillo was defensive coordinator and Andy relieved him of his duties. Mm-hmm. My question to you, and replaced him with Todd Bowles, my question to you would be, what good did that do? Like there's a difference between sending a message that you intend to send and sending a message or how that message is going to be received. Like Juan Castillo, for as dumb as that was, putting in your offensive line coach as your defensive coordinator and thinking that was going to work, he was well respected, well liked. Everybody loved. I was there for that. Everybody loved Juan Castillo.
Terrible.
And then Andy fires him, and that wasn't a poor reflection on Juan Castillo. That didn't send a message like everybody better shape up. You know who that reflected on? Andy. Everybody looked at Andy and was like, you put him in a position to fail, and now you're going to act like he's the scapegoat of this whole thing? Dude, it was your problem. You're the one who decided this. This is what you wanted. And then you have the audacity to fight. Not even like, hey, listen, we'll give you back the offense. You fired. Everybody loves Juan, dude.
Well, to find a comparison in that, why did we make an offensive line coach our defensive coordinator? Why did we make a guy who couldn't even succeed under his dad and got fired our offensive coordinator of a professional organization?
Yeah.
You have Josh,
that reflects
Josh
pretty
McDaniels to thank for that one.
He was a good wide receiver coach. Should have just kept him there.
That's what I mean.
I mean, if there's
He
guys,
wasn't the right guy for the job.
there's guys
in both situations.
in my head that I'm thinking that we get rid of. It's Grow. It's you might change Press Taylor out.
Yes.
And get rid of Carson Walt, the wide receivers coach. Those guys, off the top of my head, those guys got to go.
Absolutely, and now you see a lot of the beats and stuff like that. They're who's going to be on the hot seat? Who's going to be around? The Eagles need to clean house at the end of the season. This is stuff that we've been preaching like for how long now?
And we're not even coaches.
And we're not even
We don't get paid for that.
But that's the thing. Like this game of football is incredibly complex. It's also very simple. Like when the timeout for the fake punt or the trick play for the touchdown, the tutty. Like there are 30,000 fans. Like I tweeted out like, why didn't they call a timeout there?
Twitch my eye.
And then Jamie Lynch from the 97.5 Morning Show responds being like, dude, our whole section was screaming timeout. If we see it, my mother
Your
said
mother
it.
even
My
said
mother
it.
even said it. If we see it on the TV, if they see it in the stands, and Doug doesn't have the situational football awareness to be like, hey, listen, I don't like any part of this. Timeout. And then double down on the press conference, bro? You're going to double down on it and say, well, they could have called another one. I love when Zach asked him, like, what harm would have done? What harm would it?
He got caught out on that one.
Yeah, you got, and then he fumbled and bumbled, and gee golly, whizzed his way through the remainder of the press conference. Look, guys, I promised myself last week that I was done talking about the playoffs. Don't want to talk about it. I look at this team, and it's not a playoff team.
You got 28% chance still.
My hypocrisy knows no bounds. Because here we are, and I'm about to talk about after talking about all this misery and how the Eagles need to fire coaches and the leaders need to step up and be held accountable, and Doug Pederson needs to not be so Doug Pederson, there still is an absolute chance that the Eagles could make the playoffs, and somehow this misery continues.
Our division's so bad that the 3-9 Redskins still have a chance.
I read an article by Elliot Shaw Parks, which kind of outlined the tiebreakers and the path to the postseason. If the Eagles win out, obviously Dallas wins out, they go 3-1 because obviously we can't both win the game. We beat Dallas here at home. We would both be 9-7 with a 5-1 divisional record, and a 1-1 tiebreaker head-to-head. It would be tied head-to-head. The first tiebreaker would be common opponents. The Eagles are 5-4 in common opponents. The Cowboys are 5-5, which makes this upcoming Thursday night game in Chicago when the Dallas Cowboys head up there so incredibly important. And they also have the Redskins as a common opponent, also a divisional opponent. There's a tiebreaker. There's a scenario right there where the Eagles could own a tiebreaker. If they win out, they win the next 4 games, and use this Miami Dolphins game as a slap of reality, they could win out. The next tiebreaker is conference record. They'll probably tie as well. And then it goes down to common opponents. It keeps going down. There's a lot of ties involved here. And the article kind of ends. I don't know where to take it from there. Obviously, record, head-to-head, divisional, common opponents, conference record. And then I don't know if they're tied there. What happens after that? I honestly don't know. What, cage match? Screw it. Let's go Hell in a Cell cage match. Let's Thunderdome the hell out of this thing. Let's send Jason Garrett and Doug Pederson into the Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, and that's how we decide the NFC East championship. I don't know where to take it, but there is still a chance. 25, I read 33. There's still a chance that this team could go to the playoffs. And last week when I went off about not wanting to talk about the playoffs, this isn't a playoff team, don't talk to me about the playoffs, blinders on, I'm only concerned about my squad. There is an argument to be made. And a lot of the arguments that I got on social media. Whereas, listen, if the Eagles don't win the NFC East, that means the Dallas Cowboys do. Do you really want the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC East? The answer is no. Plus, there's an argument to be made that playoff experience Carson Wentz is better than no playoff experience Carson Wentz. And that is true. Yeah. Let us not forget the 2016 Houston Texans that went 9-7, won their division, and actually won a wild card game against the Raiders and eventually lost to New England in the divisional round of the playoffs. But they still snuck in there at 9-7, got themselves a dub.
I mean, you could host a wild card game.
Let us not forget about these very same Houston Texans in 2015, who also went 9-7 to win the division. Granted, they put up 0 points and got curb stomped by the Chiefs in the wild card round, but they still won the division. And let us not forget about the magical season that was the 2014 Carolina Panthers, who won the NFC South at 7-8-1 and actually won a wild card round playoff game against Arizona. Eventually lost to Seattle, but listen, they can still get it done.
You don't even believe it.
You
don't even believe it.
I don't even believe it.
Yeah. You know why he doesn't believe it? Because this guy breaks the season down into quarters. That's what he's done for years and years and years. And if you look at the last quarter that we just went through, the last 4 games, what about that tells you that we're going to win the next 4 outright?
I mean, the Eagles have been trying.
It's not gonna happen.
They've been trying to tell you who they are for the last couple weeks, and we're sitting here trying to that's not you. You're not out in the streets acting wild. You can be that wife. We can get a ring together. We can do this. But they are running wild in the streets right now, and we cannot sit here.
Doug
and
Pederson
act
belongs
like
to the streets now.
This is normal. This is not. This is not normal. This is really bad, folks. I mean, right now, I'm starting to look at. I haven't dipped
You're
into
acting
any.
really suspicious.
I haven't dipped into any draft stuff yet, but last night I was fighting myself. I was like, just look at some draft prospects. Just do it. And I didn't. I mean, right now if we lose out, we'll be at number 12.
You got to win out.
Number 12.
And you got the New York Giants coming in on Monday night.
Overall pick.
Right now, we'd be drafting 12th. It's wonderful.
Could get a top 10 talent.
We could get a top 10 talent and make the playoffs at this point in the season.
That's how crazy
Is that even possible?
How bizarre is it?
I think if you go to the playoffs, you're somewhere in the 20s. Like
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying at this
yeah.
point in the season, either could happen.
Either could happen.
You asked that question about the Cowboys, about them winning the division. So I thought about it for a minute, and I agreed, yeah, I don't want to see that. Would you rather us make the playoffs and get pantsed in the playoffs, or the Cowboys make the playoffs and watch them get pantsed in the playoffs again?
And have a better draft pick?
Yeah.
I'd rather us win the division
Okay.
and go to the playoffs.
It's hard to stomach losing to
I
the
know,
Cowboys.
I know.
Like, obviously, you got to beat the Cowboys, but it's just a bad scene right now.
I'm so sick of Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles arguments on either side. I'm so sick of Dak versus Wentz arguments. I'm so sick of let Carson win a playoff game arguments.
Foles versus Wentz.
I almost think that had its time. Like Foles got benched.
And Foles, yeah.
Foles got benched.
I mean, look at that.
So any leg that the Folesian Society versus the PCN, the Pro Carson Nation, had, any leg that they had to stand on is now done.
Got swept.
Got swept.
Not really. It's still going as we speak.
Yeah, I've
It's
heard
still
it.
going in the comments
It's
section.
still going.
Knock it off! It's over, Johnny.
Also, now they want to trade for
It's
when
over.
Released to get,
They want to bring them back.
They want to bring him back? No, bro. Listen, there's a difference between regular season Foles and postseason Foles. We've been saying this over and over and over again. Foles got benched, and for Uncle
It's
Rico.
exhausting.
For Uncle Rico. Yeah, it's exhausting at this point. I would at least like to go into the offseason saying, hey, listen, Cowboys fans, as good as you thought you were and as much as you puffed your chest out, you couldn't even beat this team that lost 3 straight and lost to the two-win Dolphins. You couldn't even get past us. What's that say about your squad? What's that say when Jerry Jones is outside the locker room crying because he knows he's got to fire at his puppet boy? What's that say about you? Listen, for as much crap as the Cowboys fans have talked, you got to clean up your own backyard before you start coming at us. And at least with a divisional championship and a playoff, who knows, maybe Carson wins one in the playoff, we can now at least throw that back in their face.
Let me ask you a question. So I'm assuming that you guys heard or saw the video about Cowboys players going into the locker room, and you can hear when the door opens up the screaming going on inside that locker room. Do you think that same sort of atmosphere is going on in the Eagles locker room right now after these losses?
It should be.
You would think.
It should be. Nobody should be happy.
Do you think
about
Golly
this.
G is in there stripping the paint off the walls?
You think Carson is throwing some F-bombs around in that locker room?
No.
So, listen, somebody needs to. Somebody needs to. There is a total lack. You see a lot of finger pointing. People are talking to the media. You got, guy. It starts with me, with Carson Wentz. I appreciate you taking a leadership role in that aspect. But we don't see what happens behind closed doors. And Doug Pederson did say something in his press conference that kind of struck a tone with me, because he said, the tone I put out here is not the same tone that I put out inside the locker room. Well, the tone that you're putting in the locker room, bro, ain't working either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No ice cream for you.
Yeah.
You're like,
Give me that spoon.
Meanwhile, he gave the team the day off. Think
about yourselves.
Yeah. Go home and sit there and
Look at
think
yourself
about
in the mirror.
Go to your room.
In his
Go
defense,
get your own ice cream.
Yeah.
in his defense, you ever been sick of coworkers or you just want a day away from them? It could be that. Like, if you had to coach Nelson every day, you'd be like, I just can't deal with this anymore. I got to get away.
You think Bill Belichick does that?
Bill Belichick has the power to send people away packing whenever he wants.
Probably.
Think Bill Belichick called Matt Collins yet?
Probably did.
Watch Mac Hollins get picked up by like Bill Belichick and turns into.
I just want to get some of the
turns into a Pro Bowl.
playbook. Just give me some of the now.
He turned a lacrosse guy into an awesome wideout.
I feel like we've ranted and raved enough. I appreciate everybody who's subscribing, who's listening, who's tuning in on YouTube and on Facebook. These shows aren't getting any easier to do. We try our best not to keep it repetitive, although the Eagles try to keep it repetitive, doing the same dumb stuff over and over and over again. We try not to keep it repetitive. So let's go to the fan rants. Let's hear from the people.
Only with the Eagles. We would face up successfully against the Bills and the Packers, but fall out of misery to the Dolphins. Not to mention a third game in a row where you lose on account of another team using a trick play. We couldn't hold up offensively against the Patriots and the Seahawks, and not defensively against the Dolphins. Not to mention to a guy who we wanted to trade a couple years back or a year back for Devontae Parker, who torched us.
You know what? It wasn't. It actually wasn't the trick play that pissed me off the most. It was the lack of the coach's situational awareness to call the timeout. We discussed that. There was also another wildcat play within that game. That's not a trick play. That's a gadget play. The difference between a trick play and a gadget play is they disguise a trick play. You don't know what's happening or where the ball's going to go. With a gadget play like the wildcat, right, you should be game planning for stuff like that. And they had zero idea where to line up, where to go. Derek or Avery's crashing, not keeping contained, out of position, almost like they never even seen it before. Like that trick play with the holder and the kicker, that I never seen before. I saw that, and I was like, oh, my God, they're about to pull a Colt Anderson. Oh, my God, I've seen this before where there's one kicker lined up or there's one guy lined up on special teams behind the center. This isn't going to end up well, and it did.
That was a play from Appalachian State. It's named after one of like the centers who came up with that play or whatever. But just the undisciplined style of football was depressing. I mean, just seeing that every single team, every single week is now using trick plays on us like it's the new norm. It's ridiculous. I mean, what are we doing here?
You want to beat the Philadelphia Eagles if I'm a head coach of the Giants, if I'm the head coach, I don't even know who he is right now, of the Redskins. If I'm Jason, what's that?
Pat Shurmur.
Is it Pat Shurmur?
The head coach of the Giants?
No, the head coach of the Redskins. Who's coaching the Redskins?
Is it Bill Callahan?
Yeah. Okay, Bill Callahan.
I just threw a name out there.
But it could be. It's John Madden. John Madden's coaching the Redskins. Who cares? But if I'm game planning against the Eagles, I'm incorporating a lot of trick plays. I'm including a lot of motions, a lot of moving players around. Could you imagine like Taysom Hill of the Saints against the Eagles? He'd be eating them alive. He'd be lined up at quarterback, tight end, fullback, wide receiver. They wouldn't even know what to do with themselves at that point.
He blocked a punt on Sunday.
I mean, watch someone run like a fumble rooski against us on the goal line. If they do that, I'm out.
I'm cashing in the chip. I'm out. I'm tapping out. Let's get another fan rant up here. Let's see what the people are saying.
Hey, E-Rock. It's AJ. Just letting you know my thoughts on the game. I pretty much haven't wanted to talk about it all day. I didn't even want to listen to the radio, but the reality of the situation is we are not totally out of it, but we are because there's obviously a lot of guys that are not gelling anymore, and it might be time to cut some familiar faces just to create some new energy and also get rid of some of the new faces on coaching staff who were not helping. They were hindering our quarterback. So those are my thoughts.
Not helping and not hindering the quarterback. That one especially stings. Because even though Carson Wentz, get ready for the baldy one, even though Carson Wentz had a decent stat line, it's not like he had he missed some stuff out there. Granted, he should have had 5 touchdowns. Zach Ertz should have caught that one in the end zone when they went for it on, I think, 4th and 2, and Jason Peters jumped. You could clearly tell they were trying to get the ball in the end zone. But Baldy, of course, every week comes out with especially 4 or 5 on the Philadelphia Eagles alone because it's just sitting there. It's just too juicy not to sit there and criticize them. Not to hop on Carson Wentz, because at this point he was the least of my concerns. He was the least of the problems as you take a macro look at this Philadelphia Eagles team. But just to put into perspective some of the coaching mistakes that are involved and how it's kind of hindering Carson Wentz's ability to play the game. Let's look at this Baldy breakdown real quick.
This is a perfectly executed roll protection. 7-man protection. You can't execute it any better. From Goddard to Peters, Sayamalo, Kelsey, Brooks, Lane, Miles Sanders. It's perfect. I just don't get what they're doing here. I mean, the Dolphins right here blow the coverage. Now, the ball's bouncing into the turf for whatever reason. The Dolphins know they've blown the coverage. As soon as they turn around and look, and they're like, oh, I thought you had him. No, I thought you had him. Even Jeffrey's looking around going, wait a second, because here's the play. I mean, just read the coverage. Just read the coverage. Nelson Aguilar is wide open. Perfect protection. The Dolphins did this a lot on Sunday. Just blow the protection. That's why guys like Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdown passes against them. I mean, there's Aguilar. There's where the ball's got to go. I mean, I don't know what they're being told and what they're being coached to do, but I know if 3 guys go after Jeffrey and Aguilar is wide open from the very beginning. I mean, as soon as you see that curl flat player go out there, doesn't Aguilar just get the ball? He can't figure out why he's not getting the ball. I mean, it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
I mean,
the line played great. They got to be better than this.
You take a look at that entire play, and the ball's in the dirt because Alshon Jeffrey gave up on the route. He gave up on the route because he was so shocked that he was being double covered, and Nelson Aguilar was just running free. But here's the problem. It's the same problem that we've seen like for the last 2 years, have we not? Carson Wentz just locking eyes on the receiver, and that's who I'm going to.
Yeah.
Rest of the offense be damned. I don't know if that's part of that half-field concept. By the way, let me touch on that real quick. That half-field concept that I kind of went off on a tirade about last week. Because I don't like to be wrong about things. I don't like to speak when I don't know something completely. And I'm not an X's and O's expert. I know enough to paint in medium-sized strokes. All right, I'm not. I don't paint and color in really fine points. I don't get down to the minutia of breaking down film. There's a lot of Fran Duffy. You know, I mean, if you're an Eagles fan and you're not watching his film breakdowns, his videos, you're doing it wrong. Kist and Solak are another great podcast to listen to. If you're looking for like the breakdowns and the numbers and the analytics and stuff like that, so I know enough to paint in medium-sized strokes. So I didn't want to be wrong on anything. So I actually reached out to someone from the Eagles, to someone at the Eagles, and said, listen, can you kind of mansplain this whole half-field concept to me? Talk to me like I'm dumb, because I want to make sure I think I know what it is, but I want you to tell me. And this is what he told me. A half-field concept is basically you take half the field, you divide it in half, and the wide receivers, or a combination of wide receiver and tight end, because they run a lot of, 11 personnel, right? 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. So the tight end and the wide receiver at one side are going to run the same concept, and the 2 wide receivers on the other side are pretty much going to run the same concept. Carson goes to the line and decides right then and there what side of the field he wants to attack. What matchups are advantageous to the route concepts that they are running either to the left or to the right. And that sort of explains why Carson Wentz is always, directly after he gets the... Now, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. That's where the conversation ended, right? It was a vertical. Doug Pederson used the word vertical because you're taking one half of the field and kind of going vertical with it. Half-field concept makes it easier for Carson Wentz to decide where he wants to go with the ball and read the defense. Unlike an Andy Reid offense, which was sort of horizontally tiered. You had your deep threat. If the deep pass route is covered, you go to the... Is what I'm saying making sense to you, Gail? Because you played the game. Then you go to the mid-tier. And if that's covered, you take the check down. And you do that almost, and you can work backwards to that because some plays are designed to go short. And if that's over covered, or like in the case of Alshon Jeffrey, you see double covered and the guy's going deep, you then take the deep tier. But the half field concept is to make it easier on Carson Wentz. You take a look at a play like that, dude, he's locking eyes with one dude alone. And like we've been saying it almost seems like he's voluntarily taking half the field away.
He's dialed in. You can see that he's already dialed in. He's going to Alshon. And it's funny because watching that play after, I remember watching that play real time, and I was like thinking in my head, like, what is going on here? Like, that was the read right there. I didn't even see that part with Aguilar in it because I was just like, that didn't make sense. Like, it was too quick, and then he threw it short. And then you look at it now, I'm like alarmed at Aguilar is there, and you start thinking about back to the trust issues. I don't trust Aguilar to make a play here. I'm going to Alshon all day, every day. He's double covered, and he's still not throwing it to.
But that's Carson Wentz's fault.
Yeah.
Whether you trust the guy or not, I don't care.
You still got to go there.
He had nothing but green in front of him.
Yeah, you still have to go to him, and that also explains why when people on Twitter. Even myself, we're looking at film, not looking at film, but looking at the replay of the play and being like, on the other side of the field, JJ's wide open. On the other side of the field, the tight end is wide open. It's not even registering to Carson to look to that side of the field because he's attacking it from a vertical half-field concept. I just wanted to add some context and some clarification to what we were talking about schematically and kind of going off on Doug Pederson last episode. But I think that has more to do. Again, is it a Carson thing or is it a coaching thing? I would like to think that it's a coaching thing. The fact that they're not coaching Carson up to go through all these reads.
I mean, but do you think? I mean, just watching this team week after week. I mean, the offense basically. They don't seem like they're on the same page. I mean, this is like one of the worst looking offenses I've seen in a long time. Like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, does it feel that way to you guys?
No,
absolutely.
No,
I feel that way.
Over the
doesn't
years,
make sense. It doesn't make sense.
It's like I don't know what they're doing.
If you put a ring on it and married Carson, we've said this before. He's now here. You guaranteed all that money. He's not going anywhere. He might even stay longer than Doug Pederson stays. You're married to the guy now. It is incumbent on you this year to get the best quarterback coach money can buy and start to fix these flaws that are so obvious in Carson Wentz's game because I do believe they can be fixed. Granted, he had a great game. He was able to escape the pocket, extend some plays, make some fantastic throws, some of which were dropped. Should have had 5 touchdowns in that game. But still, you can take a look at the little finer details and be like, man, something missing there. We got another. We got 2 more, right? Let's go with another one.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Evan.
Oh man. Well, first of all, don't do it. All right. Life's too short. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, we basically have a dude with an Eagle shirt plugging a toaster into an outlet in his bathroom and running the bathtub. Play it one more time because I want you to pay special attention. Listen, A, don't do it. It's not worth it. B, did you notice the pink razor on the bath? Wait. Yeah, you pause it? Okay. Look, first of all, don't do it. Life is too short. Second of all, if you're going to do it, don't have a pink razor sitting there. But when you know what I mean? Like, you don't want your family seeing that.
He's also got dolphin color.
I did like the paint.
Right
The paint color was nice. It was the eagle green in the bathroom.
You know what I mean? Like, how
Look at
Johnny
the walls,
go?
though. Look at the walls.
He
though.
plugged in a toaster.
The wall, eagle green, midnight green.
You know, he couldn't take this Philadelphia Eagles season anymore, so he plugged the toaster and took a bath. Yeah, but what was with the pink razor? Like, what was he trying to do there? It's not a good look, bro. We'll go one more.
Whoa. Wait just a second, Birds fans. Yeah, yesterday, absolutely embarrassing. But let's be optimistic for a second. Offense looked way better with our playmakers back. Dropped 31 points. We looked good. Defense, struggled. But, an early interception got to the quarterback. We can't give up 37 to the Dolphins. But the last 2 weeks, our defense has been looking good. So let's put it all together. And then looking at the big picture, these last 4 games, yeah, they're must-win games. We should win these games. So, fly, Eagles, fly, die, Dallas, die. But let's not burn the house down until we're absolutely out of this playoff race. And looking back, the Giants won their Super Bowl at 9-7. So win and get in, that's all we need, baby, is a shot.
That's some positivity.
Whoa.
That's some
We just lost to the
positivity for you.
Dolphins, man.
We're supposed to beat the Dolphins.
We were supposed to beat the Dolphins. To think that we're supposed to beat these last 4 teams, I agree with them, but we lost to the Dolphins.
Listen, I can appreciate the positivity.
Anyone have a toaster?
I can appreciate the never say die attitude. The positive fans who don't want to give up on the season until the fat lady sings. I appreciate you. You make the world a better place because we've been miserable up here. And we get it. We're not putting out positive energy. I'm trying to stay positive.
I mean, the Eagles are telling you who they are. I mean, I'm pretty even keeled.
Yeah.
But at this present time, they haven't shown me anything to make me feel like they got some juice for a playoff run. Like show me. Like it's at the end of the day, it's like put up or shut up. I got nothing.
Forget the situational awareness. Forget the lack of coaching. Forget the. Where's the emotion? Where's the swag?
They're all robots. All the responses are robots. It's every week.
When Christian Wilkins was
their job.
Christian Wilkins was pointing his fingers at the
laughing
players.
in our face.
That irked the hell out of me. I'm mad here just talking about it. Like I'm just wondering. Also, I wanted Christian Wilkins for the Eagles, but also it's just like, what are these players saying to each other? Are they challenging themselves? Or are they like, you want to go out to the club tonight, bro?
Yeah, I said that earlier in the show, just about how, where is the fire that should have came from that? If there was a player on a 2-9 team that is laughing in your face and pointing after the punter just threw it to the kicker for a touchdown, where's your fire, man? Don't you get angry?
Take one
you
for the team. Go get ejected. That's all right. We'll start a GoFundMe. We'll pay to fine.
That's what Matt Collins supposed to be in for there for.
He should have been the sacrifice in that. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
go do that, dude.
The sacrificial lamb, Matt Collins, the sacrificial lamb.
Now the Cowboys are going to pick him up.
It was so recently, but it feels light years ago, where the defense was doing the electric slide on the sideline. When Torrey Smith scores a touchdown, and somebody's throwing him the imaginary ball, and they're all hitting home runs.
Yeah.
When Nelson Aguilar catches one deep and gives a little homage to one Deshaun Jackson that splashes into the end zone.
Corey Clement cleared out the safe.
Exactly. I'm watching, the Seahawks and the Vikings last night, which, by the way, this whole Philadelphia Eagles situation has ruined football. I'm miserable watching football. Not only are they ruining, my life, now they're ruining my enjoyment of football. They're taking years off of my life with seasons like this. I'm slowly dying inside. That's neither here nor there. But I'm watching the
Keeping
Seahawks.
it positive here, folks.
Yes, I'm watching the Seahawks come up with yet another great touchdown celebration. I'm listening to Russell Wilson.
So in sync.
It was great.
They were more in sync in their touchdown celebration than our wide receivers are in plays.
I'm listening to Russell Wilson, all sorts of mic'd up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, come on, baby.
Yeah, come on, yeah. Good looking group. All right, be a little creepy about it, but that's fine. At least you're pumping the team up. They're
having fun too, man.
Then they're having fun. Where's the swag? Where's the energy? Where's the
collectively? I like to see it collectively from the group.
It's disappeared. It vanished before our very eyes within 2 seasons. There are shells of themselves out there. What the hell happened?
Sold our souls to the devil.
Maybe Doug should write a book about this season.
No ice cream.
Unforgettable.
Oh, wow. All right,
vanilla bean offense.
Listen,
Rocky Road.
They're shells of themselves on the field. We feel like shells of ourselves here on this broadcast. Let's get to the Twitter questions.
So let's try and keep it positive. Gary Scottish Eagle wants to know give him one reason that the next few years in Philadelphia are bright.
Because the Eagles this season, and I touched on it earlier, I said it earlier, the Eagles this season realize that they are now in a position. There's no more, as you put it, Gail, and I think you put it eloquently. It's like a boat with holes in it. And you can get a Jordan Matthews to try to patch this hole so you don't sink as fast. and you can get a Jay Ajayi to patch this hole. It's almost like a cartoon character when they're plugging the holes with fingers.
You see the size of that iceberg we hit?
I completely understand that. But they now realize they're in a position where, and this is a boating thing, when you got a boat that's like that bad and sinking, and that you get that thing towed in, you put it up on the dock, and you completely restructure that hull. Because without that hull being in the correct shape, that thing isn't gonna float. So if I'm gonna give you one piece of positivity, is that the Eagles are no longer blinded by the BS that they were blinded for the last 2 seasons, thinking that they could relive the magic of that Super Bowl glory.
Yeah,
they have to retool, they have to fix the boat for it to stay afloat. Fix the boat to stay afloat.
I think the mistakes are all on Front Street, so I think, they got to be self-aware. They have to realize that they got to put their players in a position to succeed. I think they got to surround Carson Wentz with weapons. The positivity here is this is one of the most talented wide receiver classes. Get some new speed in here. Speed kills. At the end of the day, we need some new receivers for Carson.
It's right on Front Street. You can see it. It's clear as day. It's plain to the eye. There's a lot of work ahead of them. You have, again, fundamental building blocks to this team that you can build around, but you're not trying to retread old sentimental favorites, which, by the way, all those people on Twitter who are talking about all these signings and sentimental favors or favorites, right, and bringing back an older roster, and they're going to get hurt, and they're going to slow down, and we said, no, they're not. Full admission, you guys were right. You guys were 100% dead on. I can see it. The Eagles can see it. The whole nation can see it. We're getting laughed at. Time to not retread, not time to retool, time to rebuild. And listen, you have to come to terms with that in order for the process to move forward. I think the Eagles are finally coming to terms with that. Go ahead.
In that same vein, Matthew Blythe, as well as myself, want to know, do you think that sneaking into the playoffs could be possibly detrimental because some coaches will slide by and they'll be back next year when they should be fired?
No, I don't think this is a Jason Garrett Clapper sort of situation where he can go on a run at the end of the season. Jerry Jones, hey, I'm Jerry Jones. And Jason Garrett, the boys played hard for Jason Garrett when the chips were down, and they at the end of the season they rattled off so many. So we're gonna keep. No, this isn't that. As Gail put it, both times it's on Front Straight and the holes are showing in the boat. So I don't think winning the last 4 games, you have to take into consideration your opponent. And then you got to see if indeed you do get into the playoffs, what happens after that. But I don't think that they're going to be fooled by any false hope. False hope is a dangerous thing, isn't it?
I mean, if they got into the playoffs, I mean, it could mask some things. But they'd have to show some real juice, and I doubt. I mean, they haven't showed it this far this season. I don't think the coaches, their message is getting across clear. I don't see how far they're going to get in the playoffs with that kind of coaching.
Go ahead.
Our boy Classic Jeff, he wants to know, was Howie right to sit tight at the deadline knowing we aren't a contender, or was Howie wrong to sit tight at the deadline because another piece or two could have made us a contender?
I think he took too long, personally. I think after seeing the situation with Djax and knowing that history with that injury, players don't sometimes come back from that. You knew that you were losing juice to this offense, so you had ample opportunity to sign someone, to bring somebody in. I think they took too long.
I'm glad Howie Roseman didn't pay a lot of the prices that were out there, for wide receivers and especially cornerbacks. Because, I mean, you look at the Los Angeles Rams right now, and as much as we all wanted Jalen Ramsey and as much as, people were drooling over Jalen Ramsey and why didn't you get Jalen Ramsey, and I would have paid that for Jalen Ramsey. It takes so much more than a shutdown corner, and the Rams right now are living proof of it. It takes more than a shutdown corner to get into the playoffs and then sustain any sort of success.
Jared's having a bad year.
What's that?
Jared's having a really
I was going to
bad
say,
year.
they're going to be leaking.
Some rumors flying out there too.
They're showing holes in the boat as well. And you can't patch it up. So I'm glad he didn't get fooled by it. But I agree with Gail in the fact that I don't think maybe that was the master plan to begin with. I think he kind of fell into that. Like, okay, waited too long, didn't make the moves. Oh, and now, fast forward a couple months later. Oh, it's a good thing I didn't make those moves because we have all these things we have to fix during the offseason. I mean, think about it. You need wide receiver help. Offensive line, you're pretty solid on, but you want to look forward. You want to get a replacement for Jason Kelce. Maybe an upgrade at that left guard position. All right, let's think about it. Okay, a tight end, you're good. Quarterback, you're stuck with, whether you like it or not. Wide receivers, you need 1, 2. You need 2 of them. You need 3 of them. You're going to dabble in free agency, but the free agency class isn't all that great. You got some in-house right now that you can develop. Okay, but you need at least 1 of them. Defensive side of the ball, don't you need corners? Absolutely, you need corners. What about the defensive tackle position? You're going to rely on Timmy Jernigan and Jackson to be on the same side of the, be opposite Fletcher Cox so he doesn't get double teamed all the way, which, by the way, Fletcher Cox is back to form and having a fantastic year, but you can't leave him on an island like that. Don't you need linebackers? I know you don't prioritize linebackers, but don't you need linebackers at this point? What about safety? Malcolm's showing his age. And not for nothing, but for a team leader, you're not leading. You're not leading.
McLeod?
I don't see it. McLeod?
He's going to be walking, maybe.
McLeod is going to be walking.
Do you think Malcolm not getting paid has anything to do with that?
I think it's got something to do with it.
Either way, think about, up and down the starting positions and think about how many needs we actually have. And when you take a look at how many needs you actually have, you can't even fill all of that in one draft class, assuming you nail every single pick. Eagles got a lot of work ahead of them, man. Eagles got a lot of work. So trading away, I'm glad he didn't trade away draft capital. Maybe he realized they weren't a contender. Maybe he did. Either way, I'm glad they have the picks. Do you agree with that, Gail?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I just
good talk, bud.
They need some juice, man. I mean, at the end of the day, they really need some juice to bring this offense alive. Like, it's the NFL. Speed kills. If you don't have it, you're seeing what your offense looks like right now. I mean, get some speed.
Go for it.
One more from Eagles Nest Gulf Coast. He wants to know, do you have any interest in Ron Rivera?
No. Why? Why? Ron Rivera deserves to be a head coach in the league. Ron Rivera deserves to be he's a good head coach. So, and honestly, when we talk about all those coaching changes, I don't think he would take.
Would you take him over Schwartz?
Huh. I don't know.
I'd rather keep Schwartz and get a guy like Haley in here, a fireball offensive coordinator.
I mean, I like the.
Haley's a douche.
He is, but
nobody likes Haley. Yeah, but nobody likes him.
Someone wants his face.
Yeah.
I want to keep the continuity. I'd rather keep the continuity with Schwartz in here. I mean, you just got to get better players in here. I mean, these corners, they showed themselves this week. I mean, they got Kenny Britt this week.
I wonder if Ron Rivera ends up going to Dallas or something, to an NFC East opponent. Like if Garrett gets the boot, if he goes to Dallas, because I guarantee you, Riverboat Ron and Jerry Jones aren't going to see eye to eye. That's not the way Riverboat Ron operates. It would be interesting to see if he goes to the New York Giants.
McNabb did tweet that today.
Did he?
He's already calling Rivera's going to go to the Cowboys as their next head coach. That was his tweet earlier today. McNabb.
He was a linebacker coach.
I don't see it.
I don't see it either. I just saw it. I was like,
Jerry's going to bring somebody that he could puppet.
Yeah, he's going to bring another puppet. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys let go of Jason Garrett and promote. Who's their offensive coordinator again? The kid, the young guy.
Moore.
Kellen Moore.
Kellen
I thought he was the QB coach.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Quarterback coach. Yeah, but I mean, I
wouldn't be
see Kellen Moore getting
surprised.
that position.
Promote from within. He already knows the drill.
It's got to be somebody that
He's
a young guy.
He's the perfect puppet.
Has to be someone that's a young guy. It's not going to be someone established. It's not going to be someone that's killing it right now in college. It's going to be someone that doesn't think they'll get a better opportunity.
No, because college coaches right now, they're in charge of recruiting, right? They're in charge of everything. They're control freaks. You look at some of the best college coaches. Not that I'm a college football fan, but what I know of college coaches, I mean, they're in charge of recruiting. But look how Chip Kelly worked out. You know what I mean? Like, he was booting guys like Shady for Kiko Alonso just because he didn't like Deshaun Jackson, you're in a gang. What? You know what I mean?
Maybe the Cowboys go after Lincoln Riley. Oklahoma Sooners.
Doubt it.
I wouldn't doubt that Pat Shermer gets booted and Ron Rivera comes in as the New York Giants head coach. I could see that returning to New York Giants football, build around the defense first. You know what I mean? That's how they won Super Bowls. You got to have a defensive-minded coach. You know what I mean? You got to have a guy who's going to build that defense to be nasty, running game, not rely too much on Daniel Jones, no BS divas. You know what I mean? I can see that happening. Is that it for the Twitter questions?
We can go one more. It's up to you.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So Britt Lifts wants to know. Give me one answer, because I know we could say a whole bunch of them, but who do you blame most for the most recent loss?
One more time with the question. I just
do you blame
realized
the
we're
most?
an hour 20 into this podcast. Why did you tell? Somebody's got to be in my ear telling me like, "Yo, wrap it up."
Wrap it up, B.
Huh? You love it? Okay.
Britt Lifts wants to know, who do you blame most for the loss, this most recent one?
Doug Pederson.
Doug Pederson. Everybody who thinks Doug Pederson, say aye.
Aye.
All right, cool. Let's wrap. Oh my God, $1.20. Ugh. I apologize again for rambling on this long. Couple shout-outs before we get on out of here, of course. Conshohocken Bakery for the tomato pies, supplying the yummy tomato pies and other goodies for the tailgate. Bud Light for being the official beer sponsor of the 4th and John tailgate. Monster Energy Drinks for providing beverages for the 4th and John tailgate. The Philly Sports and Memorabilia Show is this weekend. Make sure you get your tickets online, phillyshow.com. Meet some of your favorite Phillies. Sixers, Flyers.
Malcolm Jenkins is going to be there.
Malcolm Jenkins is going to be there.
Talk about that leadership when we see him.
I ain't saying nothing. Are you kidding me?
I'll give him $10.
Hey, Malcolm, I got $3, Malcolm.
I'll do it.
What you going to do?
I'll do it.
But make sure you check out the Philly Show. You can meet a lot of your favorite Philadelphia sports legends. Gail, any final thoughts for the podcast?
We're going to get through this as a group. I know it sucks right now, but hey, man, we just got to keep moving.
Evan.
7. 8 toasters sent to the Wells Fargo Center, please.
Trox Prime.
Go ahead.
Congratulations, Eric Rowe, on a 3-year extension for beating the Eagles.
That's a weird one.
Prime.
Out of the topic here, but just want to give a shout out to Wifey. We are having.
Congratulations!
He's
getting a baby boy.
My fault,
That was going to
man.
be the close.
I'm sorry, man. She gets to hear from me. You know what I mean?
All right. Okay. Ben.
Forget what y'all say. Eagles going to the playoffs. Don't lose hope.
Ooh,
Okay,
Ben
Ben.
with the sauce. I
Okay,
like
Ben.
it. Spencer. Final thoughts. Producer Spencer.
It's been a good show. I'm tired. But go Birds. Monday night's going to be lit. And, yeah. They're going to win out.
Season's not over. Season's not over.
He's going to me. 1, 2, 0.
112? Oh, yeah,
And he's pointing at the thing. We've been on for $1.20.
You gotta do one of these, Spencer.
Oh
Wrap it
yeah,
up.
wrap
You gotta
it.
wrap it up.
We need to. That's what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Cut it.
One of those like wrap it up signs. Hey, tailgate information. It's gonna rain. It's looking like it's going to rain. Last tailgate, my DJ laptop got destroyed from moisture, as did my external hard drive. Thankfully, I was lucky enough to be able to extract the files. But I am not putting up lights or doing any more computers what's up?
Your laptop got soaked.
Wow.
Here we go again.
And Ben's on the floor. This is how we end this podcast. I would like to send a special congratulations to Prime,
Soak it up.
who is having a baby boy, he found out the other day.
He really soaked it in to get that baby.
I do not want to get soaked on Monday. And we are going to
Get outta here.
wrap it
Get outta here.
up.
Wrap it up.
Until next time,
Wrap it up.
let's go Birds. And we will see you next week. Right here, soaking on the 4th and John podcast. Get me out of here, dude. I can't do this.